A new clue in the crash of a Russian passenger plane over Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. U.S. officials say a heat flash was detected by satellite at the time of the disaster. Experts say this could indicate some sort of explosion brought down the plane that killed 224 people on board. The flight and voice data recorders could also be key in this investigation. They've been recovered and are being analyzed. CCTV's Lorna Shattuck reports from Moscow.
A technical problem, a pilot's error, a terrorist attack? There's still no clear answer as to why 217 passengers and 7 crew are returning to St. Petersburg in body bags. A second plane load of remains has now been returned to Russia, and the painstakingly slow process of identifying them has begun. Meanwhile, the plane's black box flight recorders will now start to be examined by a joint committee of Egyptian and Russian experts, along with German and French specialists from Airbus and from Ireland, where the plane was registered.
Investigations of the black boxes have indeed begun, but it is still only the first hours, the first days of the investigation. These investigations may take weeks, not days, because it is a very precise and complicated task, so nobody should jump to any conclusions.
And it certainly is complicated.
The preliminary results could be announced in about 4 weeks, but to come up with the absolutely final report, they may need at least 6 months. One important thing they've got to do is collect every tiny piece of debris and lay out the contours of the aircraft to determine the nature of the destruction, so they can get closer to unraveling what exactly happened on board the aircraft.
One Russian news agency reports that it has seen a transcript of cockpit recordings, and there was no distress call before the plane went off the radar, but unusual sounds were heard just before it disappeared. But the message from the Russian government here in Moscow is still wait and see. While the airline has denied that either its plane or its pilot was responsible for the crash, the head of Russia's Federal Aviation Authority has said that comments like that are premature. There's a lot at stake here, both for Metrojet or Kogulim Avia, which doesn't want to be made an example of as the Russian government cracks down on airline safety, and for the Kremlin. Because if analysis shows this was a deliberate attack, President Putin's decision to intervene in Syria could be perceived to have triggered it, and therefore also triggered the deaths of Russian holidaymakers. Lorna Shattuck, CCTV, Moscow.
For more on the investigation and the search for answers, let's turn to Scott Hamilton. He's an airline industry analyst and managing director at Liam Company. He joins us from Seattle. Scott, welcome.
Good afternoon.
I want to begin with this heat flash that was detected in midair by U.S. satellite. What does that mean exactly, and how significant is this?
Well, we don't know what it means at this point. Is it something that could have resulted from a bomb on board or some other source? Is it something that resulted from the breakup of the airplane itself? At this stage, we have no clue what that means.
And why would a plane break apart in midair? Does that also signal some kind of catastrophic event?
Yeah, well, there are really only very few reasons why a plane would break up in midair at cruising altitude like that. One, of course, is the missile theory, which experts have said that the ISIS didn't have a missile that was capable of going to 33,000 feet. Another, of course, would be a bomb that would tear the airplane apart. The third is the tail strike theory, that the airplane in 2001 had a tail strike, and it has been known that these events cause a metal fatigue over time. Another could be just a catastrophic structural failure or systems failure of some kind. At this stage, it's all hypothesis.
So clearly there's a lot of theories out there on the table. Is there one that seems the most plausible to you at this stage of the investigation?
There isn't really. The only thing that we really can conclude is that because the airplane wreckage was scattered over about 7 miles, the airplane did come apart in midair. Why? It's all theory at this point.
And how important is the debris field in a crash like this, in getting some answers?
Well, the debris field will help supplement whatever comes out of flight data and cockpit voice recorders. It would help you understand how the airplane came apart. It would help you understand the trajectory of the debris. We've seen pictures of the tail section of the airplane where, at least in the pictures that we see, which of course aren't very close. There appears to be a more or less clean break across the top of the fuselage. That could suggest the tail strike theory. We just at this point don't have enough data. We hear in studios or even reporters in the field who have not been allowed to the wreckage site. We don't have enough data to really understand what's happened, but this is what the investigators are going to be looking at.
So, Scott, what is the first step in this investigation that is absolutely vital? Is it the flight data recorders along with the cockpit voice recorder?
Yeah, the recorders are going to be the easiest thing to understand basically what's been happening in the cockpit and to that airplane up until the point of disintegration of the airplane. And of course, this assumes that the recorders were operating properly. If there was an explosion on board the airplane, probably the cockpit voice recorder will have picked up something of that nature. The flight data recorder will, of course, will tell us what the airplane itself was doing, what the pressurization was. So those will be the first things that should give us the first indication. Then you go and analyze the wreckage and you look for any burn patterns that might support or refute any theories about a bomb or a missile strike. You look at the metal to see whether or not there was a metal fatigue that could support a theory of a tail strike 14 years ago. So all of this combined is going to be very important.
So clearly a lot of theories out there and so far no clear answers as what went so horribly wrong. Scott Hamilton, we appreciate your time, sir.